frontbencher, the Shadow Housing and Homelessness Minister, Andrew Bragg. Thanks for your time. Is it a bit of a reality check coming back, and when you see Labor's massive party room both in the Senate and the lower house?
Well, the Senate hasn't changed a lot, but the House clearly is a lot different, and we were thrashed. Everyone knows why.
So the Senate doesn't feel too different, really?
It doesn't feel that different. Okay. There are a few new faces, but largely speaking, we have a very important role to hold the government to account, which we will do, but we also want to try and be constructive and find things that we can work together on.
How would you characterise the mood among your front bench colleagues?
Well, we got smashed, so people are, I think, reflecting, and it's an opportunity for us to be humble and to actually take in the lesson. And I think there are many lessons, but...
It's not easy for Susan Lee, though, when you've got... It's such a, as John Howard famously called it, the broad church, and in the Nats you've got Barnaby Joyce saying, and others saying you've got to get out of scrap net zero by 2050. That's not your view, and it's not Susan Lee's view. How do you navigate all that?
I don't think that's a barrier to formulating a proper policy agenda which helps people solve problems in their lives today, right? Whether you're a family trying to get kids to school or to childcare, or whether you're trying to run a small business or you're trying to grow a business. I mean, these are all things where I think we were a bit vacant last time, and we left a lot of stuff on the cutting room floor from a policy point of view. So I think I'm optimistic that we can formulate a proper policy agenda this time.
And is that, by suggesting that, are you saying that you're both coalition partners, you need to focus on what you agree on and where you have common ground to drive your argument?
Well, we have to hold the government to account, but we also have to work with the government on things we all agree on. And we need to show the taxpayers that they can get good value out of their opposition as well as their government. And then, as a parallel, we need to formulate our own policies, which is ambitious, but that solves the problems of today. We have to be relevant to people, and we have to be careful that we don't pursue red herrings or that we look as if we are not wanting to look after everyone. Because I think one perception out there is that we have been a bit of the nasty party. We have not always done our best to protect minorities, and that's an important thing going forward.
And so is that part of the broadening of your appeal? Do you need to do that in order to get, say, the younger vote, the female vote? I know you don't just see it purely in terms of politics, but obviously you need to do that to broaden your appeal.
It's not just marketing. This has to be a policy-led recovery, and you're only going to win an election if you have good policies. Policies that help women and men get kids to school, to have more family time, for example, but also to help them run businesses, take risks. We want to support ambition. So it's a policy-led recovery.
But do you think you can get all of the coalition on board with that? I mean, obviously it's not just your responsibility, but you're a front bencher.
Yeah, I think so. And look, marketing is, of course, part of politics. We've got to be cognizant of that. I think we can do a better job on the marketing, but ultimately that's not a substitute for policy. And that's why I say you've got to have a policy-led recovery if you want to win an election.
And you've got to start early, don't you? Because you've got to make the case.
Yeah, and you've got to hold the government to account. You don't want to be unnecessarily obstructive, but you've got to do what the Democrats used to do well, which is to keep the bastards honest.
And that's important for the democracy. And I know one of the areas that has been a passion of yours, continues to be your focus, is on housing. And the Auditor, considering looking at the Housing Australia Future Fund, you would welcome that?
Well, it's been a boondoggle. I mean, it's had $10 billion to build 17 houses in Canberra. They've bought 300 houses, so they're making the housing problem worse. This has been one of the greatest failures in public policy in my lifetime. And
so in terms of the government's argument, they say that all of the preparation's done and we will see a flurry of activity on this now and thousands built. You reject that?
Well, the performance
of... The Treasury says they won't get to that 1.2 million target.
Well, it's beset with governance and performance issues. It doesn't seem to have spent its money that it was required to spend, and if it has, it's bought houses in a fire sale, probably at inflated prices. So I think there's real questions here about the governance and performance of the scheme. But even if it did build all its houses, the government would never meet its housing target, ever.
Okay, there you go. Andrew Bragg, thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Nice to see you back in Canberra.
Thanks, Kieran.
See you soon.